We're going to go ahead and start the meeting. I'd like to welcome everybody here to the Sereno Senior Center for our 710 community meeting. My name is Hugo Garcia. I'm the chairperson of the Sereno Organizing Committee from here in Sereno. Generally speaking, the meeting is so that we can have a report on analysis of the environmental impact report for the 710 draft. We're also going to have a presentation on some possible alternatives for traffic in the community of Sereno. And we're going to also have community-based organizations and agencies come up and make a brief comment. And we're going to also have some information on letter writing for public comment for the EIR during this public comment period. And lastly, we're going to have breakout groups here where we're going to take comments from the community on possible traffic alternatives and solutions as opposed to what's contained in the EIR. So pretty much that's what the meeting's about. We're going to reserve community input for the public for when we have the breakout groups. And so the first part of the meeting is more informational and presentations, and then we'll get into the community being involved and interacting in developing some transportation alternatives. I'd like to remind everybody that we want to have a responsible code of civility here during the meeting, that everybody respect each other, that we only speak one at a time, and that we keep it that way. We know that there's a lot of passion. This issue has been around for over 50 years in our community. So we should have passion. We should have care and about this, what's going on and what's been going on. So we understand that, but we want to make sure that everybody respects each other as we should. Restrooms are out here, just outside of this room on the right-hand side, men's and women's restrooms. And I wanted to just kind of go through the agenda then. As soon as I conclude with these remarks, we're going to have comments from our council member in the 14th District, Jose Huizar, and some introductions and acknowledgments of other elected officials, representatives. And then we're going to have the community-based organizations come up, the EIR presentation by Paul Moore, PowerPoint, Sereno Transportation Opportunities by Paul Moore also. And then we'll have the breakout groups, and then a brief period where we talk about what's next. And then if we have enough time to have a letter writing exercise while we're here so that we can submit those for the record. So having said that, I did want to go ahead and acknowledge that we have with us LA County Supervisor Hilda Solis, Senior Field Deputy, Joseph Martinez over here. Are there other, besides our council member, is there any other elected officials or representatives here that we'd like to acknowledge their presence? LA 32, our own neighborhood council president is here, as well as other board members, and I want to thank them for providing the audio, their system that they use at their meetings. So thank you very much, Marlene Fonseca. And with that, I'd like to introduce our council member here in the 14th District and just say a couple of things. He has spearheaded with the LA City Council for a citywide resolution against the tunnel as well as the surface route. He supported us in other environmental projects that were for environmental justice, such as Elephant Hill, the development of a hillside zoning preservation ordinance. And so we've been very fortunate to have our council member with us. I want to introduce him, Councilmember Jose Huizar.
Thank you very much, Hugo, and thank you all for being here today for a very important meeting. As many of you know, the issues of the 710 tunnel, lots of activity is now coming about, and it's important for the El Sereno community to be at the table to give our input as to what we would like and not like to happen. Many of you recall that when the 710 project started moving forward and the Metro Board announced that it's moving forward with the EIR just 2-3 years ago, they skipped over El Sereno when they decided to have community meetings. And it seems like now, as we did back then, the community of El Sereno is standing up, and we're organizing our own meetings to give our input, get a sense of where we want to go, give our input, since we have to force MTA to come to our community to give us an update on what they're doing. And as many of you know, I've been opposed to the expansion of the 710 tunnel. In the past, I publicly stated my opposition to the proposal that I think will, contrary to what they say will happen to decrease traffic, I think it will increase traffic in our local community, add more congestion, and more a decline in the quality of air. I don't support any proposal that aims to do just that in our community, and that's why I've not only publicly stated my position, but also a few years back, with the support of then Councilmember Eric Garcetti and Councilmember Ed Reyes, passed a first time ever motion to the City Council that makes it the city's official position that we are opposed to the extension of the 710. Now, let me say this, that is the official position, but what I'm watching out for is that any departments that move or contrary to that position, which I think will happen because the city is big and different arms and legs and people do different things all over the place, I would like to bring that to the attention of the city and make that an issue again should we move in that direction. Now, my view is that the freeway extension is based on antiquated transportation planning logic, and today we are faced with a different and much more challenging issues with respect to energy, to climate, and to quality of life realities, both here locally and regionally. And a freeway option, in my opinion, falls short of meeting those challenges. Quite the opposite of its stated goals. Like I mentioned, it will bring more noise, traffic, and decline in air pollution. Decline in air quality. At this point, I think the EIR raises many more questions than providing solutions. For example, the single board tunnel proposal cuts 4 lanes of traffic down to 2 and implements a daily toll with no explanation of how that will improve mobility, cut down travel time, or how the money will be spent. I also want to know why Caltrans and Metro failed to incorporate your voices in the process. They asked for our opinion, asked for our point of view, where we live and raise our children and worship and live each and every day, but failed to incorporate any of those points of view as they move forward in the process. It almost seemed to me like it was they checked that box and moved on, checked this community and moved on. Now here in El Sereno, we're hosting this meeting along with many community organizations because we want your feedback and we want your input. Since the first time when this was proposed, many things have changed to now. First, it was proposed at the surface level, now a tunnel, and even that 1 year that I served on the Metro Board, when they were proposing the extension. Although somehow everyone there knew that it was a tunnel, they wouldn't state that specifically. We knew that was what they wanted to do, and I kept asking at public meetings, well, is it a tunnel or not? Nobody would say it, but everybody kind of knew what direction they were going. Things have changed. We're a lot more clear now what Metro wants to do, and so it's time to get input from the community to see where we move forward. And we thought it was particularly important at this time to get input from the community because not too long ago, some of our allies in this fight, good, strong allies, community leaders from South Pasadena, other communities created the Beyond the 710 plan, which I thought was great because it gives us an alternative to what MTA, the extension, was doing. But at the same time, I couldn't put my name behind that plan unless I heard from my community, which is El Sereno, and Highland Park. And maybe not Highland Park as well, there's some people here from Highland Park. Until I heard from my community and the people I represent before I would look at this plan, examine it even further, and we've examined it, but I wanted to hear from the community first to see what you think about where we are with respect to what MTA is proposing, the EIR and its alternatives, and also what beyond the 710 plan is proposing, to see how good it is or not for our community, and how, if you guys ask me to put my name behind it, what changes we would suggest we could make to that plan if possible. So we will hear from several people here today. Please do give your input, and I'm looking forward to following the lead of our community at this time. And finally, I'd like to thank everybody who made this possible, the No on 710 folks, the Preserve El Sereno, Elephant Hill Advisory Committee, and the Maravilla Group. I do want to thank County Supervisors Hilda Solis's office, representative who is here as well. And a huge special thanks to the National Resource Defense Council and the El Sereno Organizing Committee for partnering with my office to host this community event. And so tonight we start a different conversation, one that will lead us to not only saying no to the 710, but to say yes to what we as a community would like to see. And beyond the 710 has proposed something that can improve transportation in the area, but and being opposed to the tunnel, but at the same time, we're not just only going to say no now, we're trying to come up with something that we could say yes to that doesn't include the extension of the 710 and its detrimental impacts on our community. So thank you so much for being here. Your presence here means a lot, because if we weren't active or involved, or if we didn't participate, figuratively, they would roll over us here in our community. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Winsor. I'd like to acknowledge that Javier Hernandez, Supervisor Solis' Transportation Deputy, has now arrived, and I'd like to welcome him to the meeting. Next, we're going to move on to community-based organizations. I'm going to call up representatives from community-based organizations to come up and give a brief comment, about a 1-minute comment per organization. So I'm going to start with Preserve El Sereno, Melissa Kellogg.
Hi everyone, I'm Melissa Kellogg. I'm with an organization called Preserve El Sereno. We are an organization of community members that works to inform and thereby empower the neighborhood. And we are working to just improve our shared quality of life now and in the future in this neighborhood. We focus on safety, beautification, responsible development, and community involvement. We're really excited to see this meeting happening. We're thrilled to see people coming together to access information, to analyze information as a community, and also that we're seeing elected officials using this resource of experts, people who are experts on what it means to live in our communities. We're really thankful that this is happening. Thanks so much for the organizers.
Next up, from the Maravilla Historical Society, Amanda Perez.
Buenos dias. It's a blessing to be here with everyone, all you fighters. I have known of this for about 40 years, growing up in Maravilla, as well as living here in El Sereno. I've got family members, but I'm with the Maravilla Historical Society. We have a handball court. We made it a landmark because we saw what happened to Boyle Heights. And we know that the way they've been handling it is not okay, not in any of our communities. We were not notified properly. When we did find out on the 11th hour, we decided that we need to band together. And that's the only way we can move these mountains, is if we come together as a unit and help each other. There's a lot for us to learn, especially with the EIR and other tactics that they're using. We're here to support you, and we want to align ourselves with you, and we hope that other groups and other communities band together so that we can do this together. And we're against the projects that they came up with. But I believe being here today, we can come up with some ideas of how we can all benefit as a community. Thank you so much.
From the Elephant Hill Advisory Committee, Alva Yanez.
Hi, my name is Alva Yanez, and I am part of the Elephant Hill Advisory Task Force, which is a group of environmental and environmental justice leaders working in Los Angeles committed to healthy, equitable, and active land use. The task force is aware of the 710 draft environmental impact document released earlier this year. We believe that the 5 alternatives presented in the EIR are not viable, and they don't effectively address El Sereno's or the region's traffic issues. Consequently, the task force does not support the proposed EIR alternatives. Rather, we support a process whereby community members are supported in developing their own traffic alternatives. More specifically, the task force opposes the alternatives presented in the 710 draft EIR as they are geared towards closing the 710 gap rather than addressing regional traffic needs. Moreover, these alternatives do not benefit this community. We support the El Sereno Organizing Committee and its partners in their efforts to craft viable traffic alternatives, solutions, and alternatives that are coherent, address El Sereno's specific transportation needs, and protect public health and safety. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on this important matter.
From the Natural Resources Defense Council, Damon Nagami.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. We are thrilled to be here with you. We're at the Natural Resources Defense Council. My name is Damon Nagami. We are a co-host of this meeting. We are a national environmental organization with scientists and lawyers and many other experts. I myself am a lawyer. We are longtime allies of the El Sereno community. We actually represented community members in federal litigation over the proposed 710 freeway extension. And we've worked with the El Sereno Organizing Committee to push the agencies to do a better job of outreach to this community. We're also a member of the Beyond the 710 coalition that you've been hearing about. Our position on this project is that we oppose a freeway tunnel and all of the other alternatives in the environmental document. Basically, a freeway tunnel would be an environmental disaster. We want to see a multimodal approach that's balanced, forward-thinking, community-driven, and a better path forward for our communities and the environment. I'm also here because we want this community to be involved in the public process. Your voice needs to be heard. It's important for community members to understand what are the alternatives being offered, what's in these environmental documents, and what do groups with this community's interests in mind think about the environmental documents in the project. There will be time at the end of tonight's meeting for you to write a comment letter to the agencies, to Metro and Caltrans, and my team and I who are here, these are interns with my organization, we will be around to help with the letter writing process if anybody needs that help. We are, as someone had said earlier, we are in the official public comment period, so if you want your voice to be heard, you need to send a letter into the agencies. And right now that comment deadline is July 6th. We've heard talk that there may be an extension, but please know that the deadline is coming up and you need to get your comments in if you want to get your voice to be heard, and we would like to help with that. Thank you very much, and thanks for being here.
Is Manuel Huerta here? I haven't seen him. The LA Conservancy. Sorry? No 710 Action Committee, Claire Bogart.
Thank you all. Good evening to all of you, and thank you all for coming. The organization, the No 710 Action Committee, was formed approximately 5 years ago, and it holds regular meetings, generally in Highland Park, and includes representatives from many communities in the West San Gabriel Valley, including but not limited to Pasadena South, Pasadena, Sierra Madre, Glendale, La Crescenta, Highland Park, Eagle Rock, El Sereno, East Los Angeles, Alhambra, and others, along with numerous neighborhood councils in Los Angeles. We all work in cooperation with our mayors, our city councils, and their staff. Right now, we're focused on responding to the DEIR to the Long Beach Freeway North, as has been mentioned. But as a group, we're focused on searching for freeway alternatives that are sensible, realistic, and ones that will provide the best transportation solutions for our individual communities and for the region. Yes, we need to improve mobility in our communities, but not in ways that will destroy our businesses or our neighborhoods. We are opposed to the tunnel under discussion because it's unrealistic, has disastrous negative environmental consequences, is dangerous, and is very costly. We stand prepared to continue our work to support and to cooperate fully with these many communities in search of the best transportation alternatives and to oppose proposals put forth in the DEIR. We stand with El Sereno and East Los Angeles and will oppose any light rail or elevated transit that will destroy or cause the removal of any businesses in these communities. We call on Caltrans and Metro to support us, to listen to us, to assist us, all of us in our respective communities, so that we can together find sensible and reasonable transportation solutions for the 21st century. Once again, thank you all for coming. I look forward to working with you.
Next up, we have Lisa Almeda from the United Caltrans Tenants Association.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay. Lisa Almeida, I've been a resident for about 35, 37 years. My mother is going on 38 years. I'm representing UCT. I'm sorry I'm not prepared for this because I just got the notice I'm coming up here. The issues of housing is what UCT works on and are also against the tunnel. It's dangerous in so many levels, environment issues, health issues. Let's use the money in building up our community. Yes, Mr. Wizard, our outreach, or whoever said it, is not good. And there are a lot of people in my neighborhood that if I don't go around door to door, they don't know anything. There are a lot of people that didn't get this letter. So, and unfortunately, my health, because of so much door to door, I can't do it very good anymore. So we need more letters sent out, not just 199. There's 3,000 people in El Sereno itself. We need to band together, especially El Sereno's voice needs to be heard. Thank you.
From the Alhambrans against the 710, we have Janet Irvin.
Good evening, everybody. It's good to see such a good group here, a large number of people. I'm here for two basic reasons. One, in spite of the banners that you've all seen on Fremont, and the Alhambra rag that's put out by the Chamber of Commerce that has no factual information in it, we have formed a group in Alhambra, and we are opposed to the tunnel, and we're opposed to the 5 alternatives because none of them make any sense. In Alhambra, our city council members keep saying that the support for the tunnel has grown in our community, and that's a myth, to put it politely. The support hasn't grown. There's no outreach, And what we've done is we've gone door to door and we've had printed material and we have talked to people and we have opened their eyes, particularly on Alhambra's so-called 710 Day. They were very surprised to find out, the people in Alhambra, that there would be no entrances or exits in the tunnel where Alhambra residents could get in or out of the tunnel. And they were also very surprised to know that there would be tolls. That would make a huge diversion rate, which would add approximately 67,000 additional vehicles on Alhambra streets every day. So I'm here to tell you that if this goes through, and I doubt that it will, if it did, Alhambra would suffer more than any other community, in spite of the fact that our city council, for some reason, clings to this idea that a tunnel is the only solution. It isn't. So that's one reason why I'm here. The other reason is I want to hear what the people in El Sereno would like. As has been said before, there's been very little outreach in El Sereno, and people haven't had much of an opportunity to comment. So I'm hoping when we get into these breakout groups, I can learn what the people here would like, and I'd like to say that we're here to support you. Thank you.
From the Los Angeles Conservancy, Manuel Huerta.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just want to say, first of all, I'm an East LA native. I still live in East LA. So we've been having some meetings in East LA at different places, and this obviously affects us too. Even though the tunnel, if it's built, it's not going to be in East LA. The alternatives are definitely affecting us. And actually, even if the tunnel is built, it's going to affect us directly too, with increased traffic through the East LA area. I'm actually here too on behalf of the organization that I work for, which is the LA Conservancy, and I'm just going to go ahead and read this statement. The Los Angeles Conservancy does not support the proposed project and tunnel and has strong concerns with the current range of alternatives in the 710 Studies DEIR in the draft Environmental Impact Report. The Conservancy believes that a better alternative that protects historic resources in the various impacted neighborhoods and communities can be conceptualized and achieved. And in particular in East LA, there's a lot of historic resources, even historic homes and HPOZs that are along the route. But in particular in East LA, I've been working a lot with the Maravilla Handball Court. And there's concerns that even the LRT, the train, could impact the handball court, even in terms of subsidence, in terms of vibration. Things like that have to be taken into consideration too. So again, we think that the community can come up with a better alternative than what's already out there, and I'm really happy to be here to talk to other folks about that too. Thank you.
Next up, we want to invite Paul Ambelon, who's from the City Terrace Residents Association, but he's actually a resident of El Sereno.
Hi, good evening. Just to clarify, I'm a resident of Hillside Village. I went to Wilson High School, but I grew up in City Terrace, and I helped found and organize the City Terrace Residents Coalition and Association with residents and business people in the City Terrace area. Regardless of the plan, City Terrace will be affected. My main concern, which has been the concern of the organization that I have found for the past 7 years, is along the 710 corridor. Currently, there's a high level of methane exposure due to the landfills that were there at the turn of the century up into the 1950s. Civil Brand Institute, which many know was the county's women's jail, has since been vacated, and the sheriff's headquarters is also being vacated and moved to downtown because the county's had concerns over methane exposure. In 2004, there was a 20-foot methane fissure in the hills of City Terrace. There's been unexplained fires and other things related to what we believe is a toxic waste that is, as you can see if you drive along the 710, eroding down the hill. Both plans, whether it's a train or it's the tunnel for the freeway, are going to bring up all of that dirt again. And we're extremely concerned not only for our community, in City Terrace, but even living in El Sereno now, all of that, light and heavy metals that are going to come out of the ground that have never been mitigated are an extreme concern for me, and I believe will be an extreme concern for all the coalitions and all the groups that are here tonight. So I thank you for your time.
From the City of LA Department of City Planning, Aire Urita Lopez.
Good evening, everybody. As our colleague here presented, I am with the LA City Planning Department, and I supervise all the long-range policy planning for the Northeast, which includes obviously all these communities. Recently, we were asked by our council member to please collaborate on a response to the draft EIR, and we're surely working on that letter. And it's very helpful to be here to hear, the comments firsthand from the residents that live in this area and from adjacent cities and jurisdictions. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew that the planning department was here and we're listening to everybody, and we should have a draft response letter by the end of this month. And obviously we're hoping to make I think it's the extended deadline to August 9th. So if you want a copy of the letter, I'll leave my information in the back. And we're in constant communication with CD14. And I'm also the liaison to all the neighborhood councils, so if you need to reach me for anything else, I'm here to help you guys. Thanks.
And on behalf of the El Sereno Organizing Committee, I'd like to make a statement. We stand with the community of El Sereno. We have supported the community in environmental and social justice issues for the past 25 years. We're now supporting the interests of our community as it relates to the struggle with Caltrans related to the environmental impact report. Our position is plain and simple. The community should have a say in transportation-related projects that affect our community because nobody will look after our interests better than ourselves. The EIR alternatives that are presented don't serve the community of El Sereno. We need to reject the EIR and craft our own transportation alternatives. That's why the El Sereno Organizing Committee is involved and here today. Thank you. I'd like to remind everybody that there's sample public comment letters that are at the table that people can obtain or have they been passed out? Have people received them when they came in? Okay, so it'd be a good idea just to kind of glance through it for later on when we get to that to the letter writing exercise. So next up, we're going to jump right into the EIR PowerPoint presentation. I'd like to invite Paul Moore, who's going to make the presentation.
Okay, so Hugo wasn't kidding when he talked about passion in this community, so it was great to hear from everyone and the perspectives, and I'm looking forward to, during part 2 of this evening, hearing what at the table groups people have to say about the issues here in this community and some of the potential solutions that could help this community meet its aspirations better. So as you can see, I'm going to talk a little bit about the EIR process, a little bit about the Beyond 710, and then we're going to drill down into El Sereno specifically and talk about some of the opportunities that could be looked at here. Start with a few facts. This is probably review for almost everyone in the room. But an EIR, if you don't know what it is, it's essentially a process for going through and technically evaluating very large regional projects that we're going to spend a lot of dollars on. This project in particular has a need and purpose statement, as they all do, and this is kind of the core statement from that need and purpose. This is what the project is supposed to be doing in the way they define it, accommodating regional and local north-south travel demands. One of the things that we'll talk about as we go on is that we understand that there is a need for much more than accommodating north-south travel demands here, but that is what the EIR was set up to accommodate and answer. You heard the council member talk about this being a 3 or 4 year process for this version of the EIR. This is where we are right now. They've gone through lots of technical analyses. You've heard about those 5 alternatives and seen some of them posted. We're here in this public comment period, and the purpose of this public comment period is to react to the analyses that have been done and that you may have seen, and that I'll talk a little bit about. That's what those letters are about. It's also to suggest changes or new alternatives, which is where we're going to focus some time tonight. If none of these 5 things are really doing what needs to be done for these communities, what sorts of things, what sorts of alternatives really would serve your needs? As I mentioned, there are some issues with the current DEIR. You've heard some of the speakers mention some of these, and I'll hit some of those same points again. One is pretty basic. It's an environmental impact analysis. It should be improving the environment, and it doesn't. In fact, the tunnel alternatives increase vehicle miles of travel. It causes people to drive more. This is not good for the environment. So it fails the first test of being an environmentally positive project, the tunnel in particular. It increases VMT and CO2, which is explicitly counter to the policies of all of the agencies that are running the plan. The state of California, Caltrans, SCAG, all of them have adopted plans and policies that indicate they want to reduce vehicle miles traveled, improve air quality. This project doesn't either. The project really doesn't do a lot even for people who are going to drive. Only about less than 14% of traffic on the surface streets are what the EIR has defined as through trips, or trips that could potentially use this freeway as a bypass to those surface streets. Of those 14%, only a small number, the model indicates, would actually use the alternatives. So even for the people who are driving, regardless of where they're coming from, it isn't really doing a whole lot. And even those people who are using it, almost none of them are saving any real time at all. About 7 to 13% are saving any more than 2.5 minutes on a commute. For most of you who commute, that's not a huge percentage of most people's commute in this region. So it's a very minuscule benefit to a very few people from the freeway tunnel. The big regional traffic improvements and congestion improvements that were expected to be part of this don't really materialize. The best that you could say is that the tunnel kind of moves traffic around from place to place. Some roads get better, some roads get worse. Depending on where you sit and where your commute is, that may be a good thing for you, or it may be a bad thing for you as a driver, but it is by no means universally beneficial. You can see here in the red, roads that get worse with the tunnel, in the green, roads that get better. So there are some that get better, there are some that get worse in terms of their congestion in the morning. In the afternoon, same story. Some get better, some get worse, some stay the same. It's not particularly clear what this is doing other than just kind of moving those trips around. The tunnel, aside from the freeway system, the tunnel also makes traffic worse on a lot of the surface streets that it's supposed to be improving. Even in Alhambra, as you heard discussed. These are intersections that get better and worse. The red dots are intersections that get worse. The green are intersections that get better. Again, if all you care about is traffic congestion, some good, some bad, probably depends on where you're sitting, whether you think this is making a positive impact in that regard. The PMT power. Here specifically in this neighborhood, we've got another of those mixed bag kinds of situations. If you believe the data coming from the model shows that with the tunnel there'd be about a 25% traffic decrease on Mission Alhambra during the morning peak hour. Sounds pretty good. Unless you're on Allen Street, which shows a 44% traffic increase. So again, it depends on where you're sitting, whether you think any of these things are a good thing or bad thing, probably. The other thing is that the EIR ignores a basic scientific fact, which is if you build it, they will come. If you build more road capacity, people drive more. This has been proven around the country, around the world. It's been proven in Los Angeles as the biggest laboratory of road building in America, that the more freeways you build, the more people drive on them. It's virtually a one-to-one relationship. If you add 10% capacity, you get 10% more driving. This hasn't been factored into the EIR. So even without factoring this increase in, the EIR is showing these misleading and, or I guess conflicting results. But this is why that is. You know, the old theory was that if we were projecting a forecast of traffic that exceeded our road capacity, we should be able to widen that road, and then the road will run okay. But we have this thing called induced traffic. Again, when you free a road up, people are like, well, it's easier to drive. I'm going to drive out there on that new free up road. More traffic occurs over and over and over, and the roads keep filling up as you build them. We know this. This is the policy of the state of California, that induced traffic is a real thing, that it must be considered. It wasn't considered as a part of this EIR, a major flaw. You heard someone also from Alhambra say that one of the flaws is that the people from Alhambra can't get into the tunnel. Once it's a tunnel, nothing can get in or out of it. It turns out that a lot of the traffic in this area, in fact, a huge percentage of the traffic in this area are short trips. Trips that are running to the doctor's office, trips that are going to school. A lot of people have short trips to and from work. They're not helped at all by the tunnel. Here's a couple of locations and looking at trip lengths. This is East LA College, Pasadena City College. You can see that the orange and the red, by far the largest number of trips to those places are from homes that are very close to those destinations. These are people making short trips who aren't going to be helped at all by this tunnel that's built around long distance travel. The EIR also assumes that if we do nothing, that traffic's going to grow and grow and grow like it did in the 60s and 70s and 80s, but that's not what's happening anymore. Around the country since 2008, traffic has flattened and in fact decreased as people are getting tired of driving, looking for alternatives, building their lives so that they're not slaves to the cars to the degree that they were before. So this assumption of ever-growing traffic is also not a valid assumption. So you might ask what problem is being solved if the project isn't really doing the things it says it's doing. And it seems like the problem that's being solved is an OCD problem. There's this thing called the 710 here and this thing called the 710 that are pointing at each other, and it's driving people nuts that they're not connected. And so they're spending billions of dollars and years of effort to try to make these things connect. Maybe the biggest problem, though, is the idea of an opportunity cost. If we spend $6 billion on this thing that doesn't clearly have positive results, it precludes us from doing all of the other things that we might talk about tonight. It precludes us from doing legitimate and valid transit, from making this a safe place to walk or to bike, from building network connections that help you make those short trips and get to the places that matter to you, to improve economy and land use and all the things that matter to communities. If we spend these dollars wastefully, they're not going to come back to us and give us those opportunities. There's an individual cost in terms of tolls for the people who will use this tunnel, and that, in effect, that has on the pocketbook. And regionally, not having money for anything else is a big ask. So, as you heard the councilperson say, the idea behind the Beyond 710 initiative was to say, what kinds of things might the community say yes to? This initiative is nothing but a set of ideas. It hasn't been rigorously analyzed for years and years and years. There haven't been millions of dollars spent developing these alternatives. These are ideas, some of which are old ideas, some of which are new ideas, all of which should be vetted with communities and should be built around part of a larger process for this sub-region to enumerate what its ideas and actions really should be. We hope tonight is one of the first of those kinds of communities. That initiative includes several ideas for consideration, some of which are transit. Obvious things that have been talked about for many years, like the Gold Line completion. The dollars that are being used in the tunnel could perhaps more effectively be spent on something like Gold Line extensions. Metrolink upgrades, the San Bernardino line and the line to the Burbank Airport could both be upgraded to half-hour all-day service, giving some very good east-west connectivity into the system for longer hours of the day. We've looked at active transportation improvements. Southern California is not a safe place to walk, but lots of people have to walk. Lots of people who use transit need to walk to get to transit. Making it safe to walk and effective to walk is something that saves lives, makes communities more convenient, and improves health. This plan includes dollars that can create safer and more walkable communities throughout the San Gabriel Valley. Enhanced safe crossings throughout the community, to help connect people to all the things that they want to connect to. Most of the cities and areas within the community either have discussed or have active bike plans that they've been discussing, but seldom do they have real funding to go behind it. Putting funding into those bike plans could create a biking network that's on peer with places like Portland, Oregon, with safe, protected, family-friendly, all-ages bike facilities throughout the San Gabriel Valley that connects nodes and places people want to go to and from. Rather than simply accommodating every person who might think in the back of their mind that they want to take a driving trip, what about the idea of just giving people incentives not to drive? It's been proven around the country that just getting people off the road can sometimes be the most effective solution, managing the demand side instead of the supply side. Looking at just buying transit passes for Pasadena City College, East LA College, and Cal State LA would result in about a 20% vehicle reduction, 300,000 cars per year pulled off the road, and a real benefit to people who are trying to better their lives, young people who want to build a future, something that's beneficial not just in getting those cars off the road, but in building people's futures and helping people in these communities. This is a proven strategy. Cal State Long Beach has an annual program that has increased transit ridership on Long Beach Transit from 100,000 to over 1 million since the program of providing student passes has been implemented. This is effective throughout the country. Providing these kinds of transit passes and transit discounts does incentivize people who have an option to take that option to driving. Cities have done this as well. Places like Boulder, Colorado, and Portland, Oregon have seen huge reductions in driving alone when they've created municipal programs to incentivize doing other things. And then looking at the development opportunities of how we want investment, private sector investment to happen within these communities is going to be very important too. The West Pasadena Residents Association, for example, went through a community process of talking about what they would like to replace this inappropriate freeway intrusion into their communities, what the connectivity should look like, what the land use benefits could be, how this investment could support the neighborhoods and the communities. This is something that could happen throughout the San Gabriel Valley, East LA, and the Sereno neighborhood. So I want to drill down on this neighborhood just a little bit. See, those were pretty broad, pretty wide expanse of geography. So what kinds of things could we talk about here? I want to reiterate again, these are just ideas. These are the things that we want you to discuss at the tables. If you think these ideas are terrible, that's what we want to talk about at the tables. If you think there are different problems that we haven't thought about that need to be addressed, talk about those issues, talk about those opportunities, talk about the solutions that you think would make a difference in this community. When we get to the tables in a few minutes, we want to spend about half the time talking about what those challenges are. That's helpful for us in kind of thinking through the reasons for one approach or another. And then talk about some of the specific kinds of things you'd like to have happen, whether the things I mentioned or things that you've talked about for a while or that you come up with this evening. One of the things that Move LA, which is an advocacy organization in this region, has talked about is an idea of grand boulevards throughout the Los Angeles region. It's kind of modeled on the city's Great Streets initiative, but taking that to the whole region, saying what if some of these big streets were really great streets as well? One of those, there's some opportunity to have some of that in El Sereno. This is one of the highest transit ridership routes in downtown Los Angeles. You can see where that route extends. It extends right through your community. You're the people that are connecting to jobs on this very important transit route, one leg of which runs along Huntington. Could this be one of those grand regional boulevards, a street that works for drivers and buses and pedestrians and cyclists and businesses and residents? What would need to happen to this street to better use some of this space that isn't really effectively used right now to contribute to the community and make it a truly grand boulevard? This is Octavia Boulevard in San Francisco that used to be an elevated freeway and now is a street that contributes to a neighborhood, contributes to economic vitality, creates space for different kinds of modes to move. Beyond the Gold Line light rail extension, there are probably lots of other transit opportunities. This is Metro's bus rapid transit master plan. You can see this network of really good bus service all over the region, and you see this one big link that's missing. And if you read Metro's bus rapid transit plan, they had a really good reason for skipping that link. They said the 710 DEIR is going on right now. We expect that to come up with an alternative that will meet the transit needs and close up that gap. And as you've heard most people say, it doesn't seem that the alternatives that were presented really do that effectively. So, could we take really improve transit service along the north-south route, connect to some of the things that really matter to people, downtowns, Cal State LA, actually having a transit alternative that connects to other transit lines. The DEIR's transit alternative doesn't really connect to some of the other transit lines in the region. This is something that can connect to jobs in places like Bell and some of the places that people need to connect to, and eventually to Long Beach. Really effective, frequent, fast transit service that goes to the places people want to go to. Could we look at Mission Road as a what's called a road diet candidate? Traffic's pretty fast along Mission. It can be difficult to cross the street at times. The volumes are such, though, that many streets that are 4 lanes at that volume around the country have been dieted, which means that you take this condition where if you're turning left, your visibility is blocked by that other person turning left and you can't see the car coming around, sometimes at high speed. By skinning the street down, you make it safer for the drivers, and you create space that can be used for widened sidewalks, bike lanes, any number of things that extra space could be used for. Perhaps most importantly, though, it slows the traffic down a little bit. It still carries the same number of cars, but it slows things down, and some good things sometimes come from that. This is a 4-lane to 3-lane road diet in Orlando, Florida, where crashes were reduced by 34%, injury crashes were reduced by about 80%, traffic speeds along every part of the street were reduced. Again, we're not sure if this is the right solution for Mission or the wrong solution for Mission, but it's among the kinds of things in the toolbox that the community can consider. And as I said, when these have been done around the country, what's interesting is that before and after those road diets, the road carries about the same number of cars. So it doesn't keep the cars from going down the road, it just makes them behave. Are there places where we can allow the traffic to distribute a little bit better by creating a network? This is about the most inefficient system of moving people that you can create because everybody ends up on the same road and in the same intersection. Our forefathers knew that this was a much more efficient system, and it's one of the places where it's created, there's much more sustainability. But when we look at the neighborhood that we're in, the fact that we have this piece of freeway jutting into the community has cut off all connectivity. So if I ask Google how to get to Cal State LA, I have to go way past where I'm going, get on a surface street, and go back to where I'm destined for. Not particularly efficient, not great for a lot of people living in neighborhoods. What if we really did make this a street and connected people more directly to the places they wanted to go? We could actually be losing trips as we move along the length of the street, what's currently the 710 South Stub. And perhaps we could think about a different, more complete design for that street that isn't a freeway, that is in fact a complete street. Complete street is just a street that's safe for all users. I would say the freeway is not safe for anybody but drivers right now, if even drivers. And it serves its context. The 710 stub right now ignores its context rather than serving its context. This is Santa Monica Boulevard that has about 10,000 more cars a day than what we would be talking about on that complete street. So clearly a 4-lane street can handle the kinds of volumes we're talking about. Many of you probably also know that the 710 freeway stub goes over what used to be a waterway. It used to be a natural feature of this community. Is that something that we could have back if there weren't a freeway taking up that space? This is what the Roosevelt de Castilla used to be. This is what it is now, a drainage ditch beside the freeway. Could we have back what it used to be? Other places have done this. Is there any reason we couldn't? So if we made the freeway a street with a regular interchange, this space is freed up, that the creek could be brought back, daylighted, could be a contributing part of the community. This is a restored creek in Calabasas. This is one in Boulder, Colorado. So not an unheard of idea. At the south end near Cal State LA, you can see how much green space is created, potentially new campus space for Cal State LA. As you go northward, you can see continuing green space, creek restoration, 15 acres of green space and park here, 10 acres of green space and park south of Valley Boulevard, simply by changing what's a wasteful freeway cross-section into a community-serving, connected, complete street. North of Valley Boulevard, we have the same opportunity. We could fit 3 regulation-sized soccer fields into the space that would be left over from removing the connection that's there right now. We could even take that connection north of the railroad tracks and look at connections between Valley Boulevard and Alhambra and Mission. Those connections might be a trail connection, like you see here in green. There might be a street connection, like you see here, if it were a small street and those traffic volumes are dropping. So could we look at a small neighborhood serving street? Even traffic calming mechanisms like a roundabout here to make sure that anybody that is connecting isn't running through the neighborhoods and doing things that aren't appropriate to the context. All just ideas, things to consider, things to look at and comment on. Even potentially continuing through the biotech triangle, creating more connectivity, more options for people so they aren't stuck in the same congested intersections all the time. So those are just, again, some of the ideas that we've talked about that we wanted to put out there for consideration. But we really want, I heard one of the speakers call you the experts, and you are the experts on your community, how you get around your community, the problems that you see on a micro scale. So those are things that we want to hear about. What are those challenges and aspirations? What kinds of ideas and solutions do you have for addressing those? Importantly, as we break out the tables, we want you guys to appoint a spokesperson for the table, because at the end of the 30 minutes, we want to hear really briefly from each of the tables about what they talked about, so that it's not just us hearing it, but the rest of your peers and neighbors can hear as well what you talked about, and we can add to that idea generation. Gio, did you want to say anything else before we go?
Okay, so we want to thank Paul Moore for his presentation. So as he was mentioning, we're going to have an exercise of breakout groups that we can form around the tables where there's like chairs on both sides. And so if you can just start to, move over around to those tables, we're going to have some people come over and take suggestions and lead the discussions. But we really do want to hear from the community, get your ideas that you have, so that we can incorporate it into this meeting. So we'll take some time to go into breakout groups now.
Hey Ray, hey, how you doing? See you, bro.
So then you have, I say, higher categories where lightweight.
So Amanda, what did you think? What did you think of these possibilities?
This was very, very interesting because they're coming with different ideas. We had discussed some of those issues about thinking outside of the box and why we can't include certain things. So I'm hoping that through this dialogue that we have, we could use some of these ideas in our community as well as everybody that's being affected, because we definitely have the minds to do something special.
The candid shots. No, I'm nursing it. That's good. I'm hungry.
Towards the gas lines, the water lines, sewage.
Jesse, good to see you, Jesse.
Hey.
Good to see you, hermano.
All right, here I am again.
We're gonna get you on video, and you'll live forever.
All right, here I am.
Digital.
Again.
So we don't just.
Another new badge now.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Here another new fresh idea.
I wouldn't be surprised to see some banners cropping up. Okay, I wanted to find out, are you folks from El Sereno? Yeah. I want to hear what you want.
One of the things we don't understand, the primary function of the tunnel is to decrease.
Just trying to make sure everybody has somebody to help you.
Excuse me one second. So that would bring traffic from the 710 directly into this neighborhood that's not exists. You're talking about that. We're going to do that. That's what they're feeling that they want to basically present. Before, we had looked at what about Hellman, and is there a way to do a flyover off ramp into their parking area? Because you've got, it's 23,000, I thought it was 25,000 people a day, and they're probably mostly coming by car. So, but they're with that freeway off. We used to fight over the living room, because my mother would make us do. And whoever got the living room didn't have to do it. More time, more to develop. We don't have access.
You gonna bring more for everybody? Go. Bring some. You gave him a whiff. Ruben, you gave him a whiff. Una olida. Una olida. You gave him a whiff of the food, la señora.
Oh, yeah.
I could smell it.
And then I get wind.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Maria Brenes. I am a resident homeowner on Stockbridge between Allen and Norwich. And more importantly, I'm the mom of 2 young El Sereno natives. And in our group, some of the challenges that we identified in the current EIR that alternatives that are being proposed is that it would only increase traffic and pollution in El Sereno, and specifically some of the areas closer to Valley and Fremont, that traffic on Poplar would be increased. The other point is that the tunnel extension would destabilize a great peaceful El Sereno neighborhood, and the tunnel extension threatens our quality of life and that of our kids, and that the alternatives don't address the existing unsafe conditions and the existing unsafe conditions of our streets, and doesn't address the potential overflow of traffic, and specifically doesn't address the unsafe conditions that currently exist for pedestrians, for drivers, and for bikers. And for those of you who have experience using Alhambra Road and Mission, you understand what that means. And there was lack of outreach in the EIR process for our neighborhoods, and so our ideas were not taken into account, our concerns. And yes, again, a lot of criticism about how the tunnel, what the tunnel proposes to do, being a toll. Yes, so those were some of the challenges we identified. In terms of solutions, one that came up very strongly was the preservation of the Arroyo Playground Park. And I know personally for me, it's a huge quality of life issue. It's part of what my children do almost every day, along with other kids from the neighborhood. And even then, even though it's a great resource, it could improve in terms of the sidewalk, pedestrian access to the park. That's what needs to be addressed in alternative vision. safer sidewalks, safer roads, improving the quality of, the roads and the boulevard. And actually, because we've seen the real effects of the park, we like the idea of expanding the park space to connect with a potential Cal State LA corridor green space. And we know that could create some other traffic challenges, but let's try to address those, but really look at this solution of expanding green space. Another really great idea some of our longtime East Side, El Sereno residents had was expansion of the dash routes. Yes, just to increase mobility and affordable mobility, and removing recycling law on Valley at end of 710. So, park and ride program to take people to Pasadena is another add-on. So that was our group.
Okay, this group.
Over here.
Tess.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tess Hernandez-Cano, and our particular group, thank you. Our particular group, unfortunately, I was at one end of the table and I came late to the event tonight. So I'm just basically going to read to you what were first the challenges and aspirations that we see, and then our solutions. Our challenges were avoiding car exhaust, concern for traffic accidents in the tunnel specifically, better, more efficient transit, protect homes and jobs, shift money to other areas, education, public transit, creating new jobs, more lights in the streets, fix parking congestion, and everybody wants better outreach. Let me see. The tunnel construction, we see it as damage to a home. Who would pay? How would it affect our insurance policies? And also the collapse of the tunnel and any earthquake that we are prone to get. The ideas and solutions are, I'm always wondering, why doesn't anybody want to use Alhambra Avenue right away? It's right there. The local bus routes need to be improved. Road improvement, everyone's talking about that too. Huntington Drive, people are talking about moving the trees in the middle and make more lanes. Even bringing back the red car, the electric car. Public transit routed to colleges. I don't understand why we have Cal State right here, East LA over there, PCC over here. Why is there not something that rotates? Because the kids need it. This is the future of our nation, and we're giving them a hard start by not even allowing them easy transportation. My sad story, I live in the house that I grew up in now. I came back to the neighborhood. I had to catch the 80 bus to the 92, to the 12, to, I can't even remember the number, to go to LACC back in the day. Okay, 4 buses one way. No wonder I'm a college dropout. Okay. All right, let me see. Road improvement, Huntington Drive, I read that already. Metro that connects to the Gold Line, implement effective bike lanes and lights, improve the bus times, making sure they run on time. One of our neighbors from Pasadena told us that oftentimes a lot of the buses, she'll be waiting for them, and all of a sudden 2 will come. But there's been a big delay for whatever happened. There was an accident or what have you. My personal desire, I hate to remind you all, even you young people, but sooner or later, as we age, DMV is going to come knocking and say, sorry, we need your license. You can't drive anymore. So when I start getting more concerned about that. I want to know that I can still party on the west side. I want to know that there's transportation that is clean, safe, effective, and can take me where I want to go. I don't want to knock on my neighbor's door and ask their kids, can you take me to my doctor's appointments? That's not for me. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Manuel.
Paul Esparzandalo.
And our group had people from East LA. I'm from East LA, City Terrace, and from South Pasadena, and also El Sereno residents in our group. So the way that we did it, it's a little bit mixed up. It's both the challenges and solutions. So I'll explain that, and Paul's going to help me as we jump around. But just some ideas were thrown out there, like, for example, that Cal State LA may need an off-ramp. That was one idea. An idea was mentioned by one of our members about a connector road. I think somebody was talking about something like that too, where at some point there was a lot of talk about a road that would go from Valley over to Mission. And but yeah, I know that's controversial, but that's an idea that was mentioned in the group that might ease some of the traffic on Valley. The idea of the creek, the green space, that was brought up by the gentleman that did the presentation. We talked about that at length in our group, and there's concerns that maybe because we asked him some more questions, if you were to narrow the freeway and to create a street, would that create more traffic in communities south of where you're doing that? Because people might want to get off of the freeway sooner, but it's something that I think is worth talking about, because the idea of green space is very attractive to even to a lot of members in our group. We just have questions about that.
Yeah, one of the ideas that was thrown out that connects with this, I guess, a road, a bridge that goes from the 710 over to Alhambra Road, crosses over Valley and Alhambra Road, is to, during high traffic hours, to make both, or if not one or two of the roads, both Alhambra Mission and Valley, one ways going into downtown and coming out of downtown, so that it could ease traffic. I'm sure people have talked about this in the past. I've heard it from other people. I think it's the 3rd Street Bridge, where in the morning it's all going one way, 4th Street, and then in the evening when everyone's coming out of downtown, it's all coming another way. And that would also ease traffic from the downtown area coming up Valley Mission, Alhambra Road. So those are some of the things that we talked about as well.
We also talked about transit, and this is actually related to another point down here. I think people were open to the idea of transit, better transit, not necessarily what Metro has proposed as of now, with increasing transit on Atlantic, but definitely improving transit all over the area so that people can get from south to north and north to south much easier. And very specifically, for example, the 256 line, I'll actually hand the microphone over to Paul, because he takes that bus and it only runs once every 40 minutes.
So the 256 is basically a corridor that connects the Commerce, unincorporated East Los Angeles areas down by King Taco Ford, all the way down Eastern Avenue through City Terrace into Cal State LA, through El Sereno Hillside Village, through Highland Park. So there is really a bus that takes you, and a connector that takes you from East LA to Pasadena, to Mendocino Lake and Altadena. But the frequency, it comes once every hour. If you miss it, if I miss it, I'll get to work an hour late. So we're talking about increasing the frequency of that bus line, which connects ELAC, PCC, and East ELAC, PCC, and Cal State LA already, but just improving it, enhancing it. And one of the other things that we discussed was what was proposed was giving students full access to public transportation. I've seen it in other areas. We saw it what it's done in other areas as well, and we think that with lines like the 256 being enhanced, that they would even improve opportunities for students and for transit throughout the area.
And just like Paul was saying, is that even if you do give them the bus passes, though, they're not going to get on the bus if it's not coming frequently enough. And that's a problem with that specific line. I've talked to Cal State LA students. I live in East LA. And they opt to drive to school because of the fact that that bus doesn't come often enough, or it's really unreliable. Okay, we talked about that. I don't know, like, do you want to?
Sure. Yeah. One of the ideas, they talked about green space north of Valley. And one of the things that I kind of encountered with my group for the past couple years was the area south of Valley, which is Floral to the 10. That whole area on both Corporate Center Drive, there's a lot of already open space, and the county's really looking at redeveloping that area. That's why they're removing people. It is a toxic waste dump, and we feel that cleaning that area up and possibly using that as a starting point even to start greening along the 710 would be a good idea, but we just threw that option out. I'm personally invested in making that area better. I don't think that they should build anything where methane gas and all this potential hazard is at. So that was another thing that kind of came up as well. Yeah, and that was one of the other things that we spoke about. One of the other things that somebody else in the group mentioned is the relationship between El Sereno and Alhambra, and I kind of have sentiment toward it because the relationship between City Terrace and unincorporated East LA and Monterey Park, a lot of the major commercial business in the region is in Monterey Park. So if you live in City Terrace and you have to go to the market, you either have to go to Boyle Heights or you have to go to Ralph's in Monterey Park. And that's something very common here in El Sereno. A lot of people, if you need to go to Target, you need to go to Costco, you need to go to Alhambra to get your business done a lot of the time. And there's no real connector for that. We have a Sol, which did a really, it's like a dash, and it did a really great job of connecting City Terrace and Boyle Heights, East LA, to Monterey Park and that commercial area, and vice versa, brought people from Monterey Park into our area. And so I think that's lacking in this area. You get the dash and it kind of cuts off, and then you would have to take 678, 79. So that access for people is really stunted, and so that's one of the things that we also mentioned.
We also talked about the potential for using the right-of-way on Mission, Alhambra, how there's already train tracks there that are not used, and possibly putting a light rail train there to move people. And it sort of goes not exactly north to south, but it's at an angle. Same thing, we did really quickly talk about the potential for a subway train, like that would connect people from the East LA area to Pasadena. But there's also concerns about that, like in terms of vibrations, the different things that can happen if it's not done correctly, especially with the historic homes in different areas. So, but those are all ideas that we talked about.
And lastly, another last idea, because I ride the bus and I'm a Metro user. Years ago, they eliminated the bus line along Mission Road. And if you take Mission Road, it's a very easy point to get in and out from the San Gabriel Valley into Los Angeles. And so if we enhance that, it would improve traffic not only on Valley, but also on Main and on Huntington Drive. Because a lot of the time, if you live anywhere in Alhambra or anywhere along that, you have to walk to Huntington, or you have to walk all the way over here to Valley in order to catch a bus. So that whole area is almost like a transportation desert where there's no real access to get people in that whole industrial area along Alhambra Road through Mission. And I think that's a very important and old historic route that needs to be re-implemented.
Just lastly, as you say, we're probably talking a lot because coming from East LA, we feel like we haven't been a part of the discussions as much. So thank you very much.
All right, those are some great comments, some great observations, and that shows why it's so important to connect with communities all around. And those are some great things. We're going to try to move it forward. Who's next? Tom? Or okay, somebody got to get it. Whoever gets up here first. Whoever gets up, they keep beating you, Tom. I'm sorry.
Okay. Hi, good evening, everybody. It's so infuriating that we have to meet like this. Community people taking time after a long, hard day when we paid people to do this for us. And they haven't done it. $40 million and $150,000 for banners up and down Fremont that tell us to build the tunnel. And we have to come up with these solutions. And we're not MBAs, and we're not engineers, and we're not geologists, and we all have different professions, and we have to come up with these solutions. Guided by a few people like Beyond the 710, like Ara Najarian, Mayor of Glendale, and the ex-state Assemblyman Anthony Portantino. I mean, I just have to say that. Okay, my name is Tina Galata Miller. I'm from Highland Park. I live in Garbanza, and I've been part of the whole No 710 Coalition, which opened my eyes up to so many different things with the history and all that. And thank you, freeway fighters that have done this for 50, 60 years. I mean, thank you. All right, challenges. I wanted to listen to the El Sereno students residents at my table, and one of the things they said were challenges were the light rail connections are non-existent. The resident lives on Templeton, so she's an older person, and of course it's challenging for her to walk far distances to get to a bus, to get to a light rail. So that was one of the challenges. BRT scheduling is infrequent, which I think Tess talked about and a few other people talked about. Improving BRT lines to Mission as well as dash lines. That was something that was desired by these residents. One of the challenges that we find in this whole EIR process and what they're recommending from Metro is the tunnel is not an added benefit to the community for various reasons. Cost, years of construction, environmental impact, which was not considered in the EIR, toll cost, which would divert the traffic, no direct benefit to the community, will not make a difference in the commute, as we saw on many of the slides that we've seen, and the portal would decimate El Sereno. I think those are pretty significant concerns. And then we went to ideas and solutions. We're a little bit disconnected here with our ideas and solutions with the challenges, but we got a little bit excited about some of the ideas and solutions that we would like to see. One of them is a trolley service from the South 710 to the North 710. Improved and better connected bus rapid transit. Let's face it, we don't have a public transportation system in LA County that connects the dots. And all of us have been asking for public transportation and affordable public transportation, safe public transportation, and $40 million did not even think about that. We have $740 million left, and they still aren't going to think about it. Electric rail for cargo to reduce truck and commercial traffic, solar trucks, because we have to think about trucks, getting them consolidated, redesigning this entire industry. I think it's really, really important. We have a port business that is in trouble in Los Angeles. And we have Panama Canal that is not in trouble. And the Chinese are looking to invest in any of those ports so they can get their goods off their ships because they're sitting out in the waters of Port of LA right now because we're on strike. And they're already threatening the US government, and they're saying they're going to reroute it. They don't need LA. And we have to think about economy. All right, daylighting Arroyo del Castillo. I loved that part of the presentation from the Beyond the 710. Into a public park with bike lanes, recreational open spaces. Any green space that we can grab money for is going to benefit not only you, your children and your children's children. Finding our aquifers and water. Water is important. Learning the geology of our aquifers, of our water, and bringing it back, capturing rainwater to sustain our environment. Growing trees to clean our air. And then we talked about great streets. We love that idea too. Huntington, Valley, and Mission should have gobs of money invested in them. As much as we can get. Bring the communities together. Grow trees, traffic calming, bike lanes, parklets, trolleys, bus rapid transit. Come on, let's come up with as much public transportation as we can get in there. And consolidate it, make it efficient, electrify it, solarize it, Move people, not build cars and trucks. Move people. That's what we have to do, because LA County, it has been in The Economist, said 10 million more people are going to come to LA, to California, in the next 10 years. Mayor Garcetti wants 100,000 more units on the LA River. 100,000, and that's just the LA River. We have to think about moving people, and we have to think about a way of life, quality of life.
That was great. From Highland Park. Okay, Tom, you got to follow that.
Hi, Tom Williams, 30-year owner-occupant in El Sereno. I've seen the 710 several times. Right now, thank God we've gotten 30-day extension. Now, my wife will be very upset. However, the main thing is, frankly, the EIR is a load of crap. Sorry. We need, and just as an example, just tonight, in maybe less than an hour, we've come up with a lot of other solutions much better than what is in the EIR, and we're composing them into a alternative. Quotes, environmentally sensitive alternative or something. The main element is how to make it work together. Just not one solution, but many solutions. So what we looked at was, hey, one connector road? Everybody's worried about the Alhambra connector road? No, we want it on mission. Give it right over to Barbara so that she can use it to support her big 400,000 square foot mall. She needs it. She needs it. All in Alhambra. There's also a matter that they need more connector roads in Alhambra. Say one at Palm, because there's no connection across there. And one very lovely elderly lady said, hey, make it into a one-way connector road. That is, Fremont can be southbound and Palm will be northbound. Never heard that one before. So, lady, sometimes people call me an expert. I say, no, I'm a specialist. But we're all specialized in one thing, where we live. And we know that you don't go this way, you go that way. And if you ever go to Antigua, you know the back road rather than the front road. So everybody knows ways around. And it's a question as to get them on paper. So we're looking at, oh, yeah, 710 to Mission, that's a connector road, but it doesn't serve El Sereno. No traffic can. Well, if you know how to do the back road, you can get around that one. Eastern. Eastern has to go up to Valley. Well, no, there are ways of getting it across so that it's directly from Eastern to Eastern. So a new intersection there with a bridge. Okay, there's also another one in the county area actually called Miller, and there's two stubs, one on either side of UP Railroad. So that's another connector. There's several others that could be done. Bus rapid transit. Huntington Drive would be classic, especially after they get rid of all of our own historic Soto Bridge. So once that's done, hey, we can get bus rapid transit. Hey, how about Valley? There's not enough ridership. I wonder how to do that one. But it can be done. Valley's big enough to take it. Figueroa, I stepped over the boundary, sorry. Monterey Road. Well, we have Monterey Road. Could it connect into Fremont and Monterey Road in South Pasadena? Bus rapid transit. Hey, we're trying to go beyond what we're being given. So there are ways. Fremont, bus rapid transit, hey, yeah, it would be classic, north-south bus rapid transit. LRT, light rail transit. What they proposed was totally unusable. However, try one that starts with Gold Line North along Rosemead, or what is now called, or what is called SR 19, and you can go all the way to Long Beach to square the start. So we were also looking at make streets more pedestrian friendly, because we're going to do a lot more walking, hopefully, than we have been doing. Transit subsidies. Bus 256 was mentioned on one of the slides. Mr. Garcia and I went out one weekend, we collected 1,500 or so signatures in order to protect Bus 256. Because 4 different times, Metro has tried to kill it. First time was lack of ridership. We proved that it had ridership. Then not productive, i.e. not profitable. Too many seniors and too many juniors riding on the bus line. Oh, it's not productive. We saved it because it connects Cal State LA to PCC. My grandniece is now accepted to PCC. And she knows how to take the bus there. And it's quite convenient from El Sereno. So buses are a lot of useful things because they're very dynamic. And if you look at Metro's, the $7 billion for the tunnel versus bus rapid transit at $250 million. We could double, triple, quadruple that. Then, one thing that's always been close to me, but yesterday it was the first and last mile issue. We need more dash. One basic concept is no dash bus should be more than 3 blocks away from any house, so that you could stop using the car, just walk a short distance, but a reusable distance, and get on dash bus. And if you're over on the northeast side of El Sereno, you know the Maycrest bus is useful. If you compare before there was dash, it was a major improvement. So, and our infamous one-way couplet, including a connector road on Palm, so that Fremont would be one-way south and Palm would be one-way north. Other places have it, downtown has it, and that's one of the few places where, when the lady said it, okay, where can we put it? Oh, hey, here, okay, that's all.
Thank you, Tom Williams.
I'm with Tom. We ran out of paper. I have 1 more minute. We ran out of paper. One of our solutions was making use of existing highway, streets, and roads for different purposes. And I heard a lot of you doing the same thing. But the secret to being able to do this, has anybody heard of the functional classification of highway, streets, and roads? Okay. Every highway, street, and road has a classification given to it by the federal government, the Federal Highway Administration. That street out there has a classification. It could be a principal arterial, major arterial, minor arterial, you name it. The classification that that street has determines what pot of money is going to be taken, given to the state, and then from there they give it to the county or they give it to the city streets, or the city jurisdictions. The classification determines what you can do with it. Sometimes you may want to raise that classification to get more money. And that's the secret, being able to do a lot of these things that we want to do. That's what we want to put in there. We ran out of paper.
That's a good observation. Okay, I think we have next, is it this group here or this one? Okay.
Hello, our group was represented by people from East LA as well as El Sereno. and we unanimously concluded that all 5 alternatives in the ERR will not work for us. Our main concerns were, of course, the tunnel, which would bring health and safety issues, basically the quality of the air, because of the portals. It would be concentrated exhaust at both the entrance and the exit at both ends, the Pasadena El Sereno side, plus any tunnel that they might put in South Pass or maybe in El Sereno to exhaust midway. Let's see, another concern with the tunnel was the fault line. There's a fault line running right through there. The other one would be the utility lines and existing water lines, and natural aquifers. So we liked that presentation that Paul presented, where we had that Grand Boulevard, and we'd like to see commerce be built up, maybe some calming alternatives for traffic. Keep the people in the community buying here and everything else. And included in that would probably be maybe some senior housing, because there's a lot of seniors needing housing. One of the alternatives that we proposed was not necessarily a light rail, but a metro rail running down the center of the 710 freeway, maybe starting at Valley and going all the way to Long Beach and meeting up with the Green Line. I personally work in El Segundo, and there's 5 van lines that go from Alhambra, El Sereno, that way. Could you imagine if we had rail going down the 710 to the Green Line? Let's see. Revamp and update all the bus routes, provide alternative transportations, and add more dash lines for our seniors that have to walk several blocks to get to any of the main lines. So we reiterated the line going down the meeting up preferably with the Green Line. So down the center of the 710 freeway, get a rail line running through there. Once again, the Grand Boulevard would keep people in the community, good for local businesses, safer for pedestrians, slow down the traffic, reduce traffic pollution, leads to better health, and once again, provide some senior housing. It was also proposed to update the 110, which diverts truck traffic, and remodel that to be a more efficient highway. Freeway.
Stepping on my toes.
So the main concern is beautify the area, make it better for future generations, and quality. And the money should be diverted to efforts to yeah.
I'm all about kids, so I mean, let's get some of that money and feed some of the kids here in Los Angeles. They don't even know if they have dinner when they get home. And the drought issues, we can maybe invest in ways to help us on that.
We're done.
Hi, good evening. My name is Sereno. I wasn't ready to do this. I came tonight to give some fire and tell people how El Sereno was being ignored on our position on this issue, and I was ready to give a good speech on that, and then I realized, oh, we're going to have fun games. So, so we jumped into groups and we brainstormed real quickly on some challenges. This is assuming that the freeway wouldn't go through El Sereno in any method or any way. Some of the challenges we thought, of course, were funding would be one of the first ones. And that was, like I said, current position by Caltrans and MTA to not extend the freeway. And one of our big priorities, especially challenges in creating alternatives, was not losing our communities in the process. Connector road options, we weren't familiar with that, but we've been hearing a lot more about that just recently. And one of the biggest challenges, and I believe that this is why the extension is being pushed so hard, is commerce. What do we do with all the goods and commerce moving from the Port of LA and connecting throughout the San Gabriel Valley? So those were our challenges, and some of the solutions and ideas that we came up with was, like some of the previous speakers mentioned, right now we have a lot of main thoroughfares, Valley Boulevard, Fremont, Huntington Drive, Mission Road. We thought if there was great amounts of money invested in those areas right now that we could, we wouldn't need the extension as much. But again, trucks and commerce comes into the question. But this is where we really focused as alternatives to the extension. Freeway surface options. One of our members was, he still thought that the freeway, the original plan should go through with the freeway. And light rail option, we were open to that, but again, through the main thoroughfares that we have that are existing right now. Shorter routes for trucks. One of our members said that maybe the trucks would stop at the main yard where many of the goods are coming in on trains and distributed from there. Let me see, light rail, freeway option. I think that was most of the alternatives that we came up with. And that's about it. Thank you.
That's great. I want to say a couple of things. I want to thank everybody for coming and participating. I think it was a good exercise. And everybody stayed here so late. Sorry for starting late. Want to thank the interns from NRDC who showed up and assisted in the breakout groups and all that, and also thank people from different communities who have shown up and showed the solidarity that we want and spreading of these good ideas, and for everybody from the community who has weighed in. It's been really great going through this, because even in these last couple of weeks, making a lot of connections with a lot of people from different communities. And even finding out some people that live in El Sereno that I didn't know live in El Sereno. So I want to thank everybody. Remind everybody, we don't have time to do the letter writing exercise, but if you can take the sample letter and use it as a guide, and then what's good is that you got some ideas of why you might feel that we need to have an alternative to the EIR. And that's what the whole purpose of this meeting is that we're not accepting this EIR. In our community, it doesn't work for us. So we need to let Caltrans know that. We need to send those public comment letters. And so make sure that when you take it home and the ideas that you've gotten, that you incorporate it into a letter, and make sure you send it, okay? We got a question.
With regard to the letters, I just wanted to say one thing. My name's Jan Subu. I'm with the No 710 Action Committee. We have a website. It's no710.com. On that website, there's a tab that says DEIR info. If you click on that tab, you'll be taken to a page where there's all kinds of instructions and specifics about how you submit your comment letter and helpful documents like suggestions, things to look out for. A sample comment letter done by a professional, so it's a little technical. Ours don't have to be that technical, but everything's there. The deadline will be wrong, as we learned tonight. It's been extended now, but everything's there to help you with your letters. Okay? Oh, and we also have an online petition with over 3,300 signatures, and I would encourage you. There's another button on there that says "Sign the petition." I won't ask you to sign it necessarily, but I would ask you and appreciate it if you would read it and consider signing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. One other thing, this Saturday there's going to be the last public hearing where you could submit a comment directly at the public hearing. It's going to be held on Saturday, June the 20th from 10 to 4, Griffith Middle School in East LA on 4th Street, right off of Medman, right down the street from Medman. So we welcome people to go down there. If you didn't send your letter, you can go there and make a public comment for the record. So I'll also thank you to the Alley 32 Neighborhood Council for bringing in their sound system and everything else that they brought in. And everybody be safe tonight as you drive home. Thank you. Oh, and we're gonna put together all the information that we got from the community, and we're gonna include it in an email to you after we put it together. Okay? Thank you.